Welcome to Power Wheel, your weekly power sector program from the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN. Here are the headlines. TCN seeks collaboration with Kwara State on transmission line right-of-way. TCN reawakens staff zeal as it works to implement SCADA, EMS power grid technologies. The interview segment features the project manager, World Bank Project Management Unit of TCN, Engineer Dahiru Isiaku, who speaks on expected impact of the numerous bulk power transmission projects that are being executed by TCN with finance from the World Bank. Stay with us for these and other reports in this edition of Power Wheel. I am Chinwenwa Anyao. The Managing Director and CEO of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, Mr. Yuji Mohammed, has called for synergy with the Kwara State government, especially on securing the right-of-way for TCN to execute power transmission line projects in the state to increase the delivery of bulk electricity.
Mr. Mohammed made this call when he led the management team of TCN to visit the governor of Kwara State at the liaison office in Abuja recently. He highlighted the footprint TCN has attained since he took over the leadership of the company since 2017.
When we came in to make transmission work, we quickly concluded the 20-year least cost transmission expansion plan. This 20-year least cost transmission expansion plan, which provided how transmission will expand for 20 years, was the first time that it was done in the history of Nigeria. Now, after we concluded the 20-year least cost transmission expansion plan, we took 4 years out of 20 years and came up with what is called Transmission Rehabilitation Expansion Program, which has 4-point strategies. Now, this 4-point strategy include frequency control. Frequency control is the process of balancing demand and supply. Now, that is why when people hear that capacity of transmission is 8,100 and the generation is 7,500, people wonder why is it that what we are actually consuming is just 4,000 or less. The reason is that at any point in time, the demand and the supply must agree. So it means that you can only generate what you can consume.
Mohammed, however, said synergy with state governments on provision of right-of-way could further promote the project's delivery targets of TCN.
As of today, we are working very well. So some of the innovation that we are doing also is that we are collaborating with state government. It's very, very key because state government are the owners of land. One of the key challenges we have in building transmission line is actually right-of-way. We enter into agreement with Governor of Anambra, and as of today, we are building 132 kV line from Onitsha to Oba to Newi, and the work is moving smoothly. So, because of the way we are achieving this, we have decided to enlarge the memorandum of understanding, and every state that we are doing, they have to get something also inside that memorandum of understanding. So, the one with Jigawa, we have already signed, but the other parties to Jigawa have not signed, where we are putting 132 kV substation in Machi, in Kazaure, in Nambata, Babura, Misau, Gwaram, Ningi, and Brinikudu. So we have the governor of Jigawa has signed. When we met him that day, he signed. So he's remaining the other governor to sign.
The TCN boss revealed the plans of the company to construct power transmission lines around the western axis of the company that will need the collaboration of the state governors. For Kwara State, he said there is a planned project to build a transmission line from Kainji Power Station in Niger State through Kayema Town in Kwara State and up to Oyo State.
Now, the one that concerns Kwara is the line that will run from Kainji to Kayama, Kayama to Kishi, Kishi to Shaki, and it will end at Iseyin. Yeah, at Iseyin, all in. So because there's a 132 kV substation in Iseyin, and you know, I told you, Your Excellency, we are doing N-1, which means we are building line in loop, or they have to be parallel. So any line we are building, we don't want line to stand in the middle. It has to be looped to something. so that if there's a problem this way, you can feed people through that way. You can back feed and front feed. So this line will involve a 132 kV substation in Kayama, in Kishi, and in Shaki. So we require the support of the state government of Niger to help us with the right of way from Kayenji to the border. Then we require His Excellency to give us support at the right of way from the border of Niger to the border of Oyo. Then we also require the governor of Oyo to give us the right of way from the border of Kwara to Isei.
He, however, noted that every state would benefit from the project in terms of TCN adding infrastructure that will boost bulk power supply in such states. Mohammed assured that with the commitment of the Kwara state government, there are quick wins the company can deliver to boost bulk power in the state.
The line from Gamo to Shanghai, I was told my people that we have even paid the right of way. So what we require now is for us to fund the LC. I'm giving you a commitment that when we leave here, I will direct Abolonpe to fund the LC immediately. We will fund the LC and provide this. So if you agree to give us right of way, I was told it's about 30 kilometers from Shanghai. So either Lafiaji or to Patigi, depending on the one which we think is more, has the possibility of getting industry. Because it's you to decide that, look, you're going to get industry in this place. And I want to tell you something. You can, when you get these industries also, you encourage them to come. We can work with you to connect them directly to the grid.
The senator representing Kwara North Senatorial District, Senator Sadiq Umar, requested that TCN consider expanding its infrastructure to cover Buraten, another town near Kayama in Kwara State.
From Kishi, Isheng, we can also enter Ilesha, Guanara there. I think that is less than 30 kilometers, 40 kilometers. We can enter Buraten through the access.
Responding, the TCN MD, Mr. Mohammed, clarified that it was the duty of the distribution company, DISCO, to supply power, but that the company will check from the project's study if that was possible.
Our work is to deliver bulk power.
Yes.
To take the power to the customer is actually distribution. But because distribution have no capacity, state have always been helping to take this power to those places. But I will recheck the study that we have done to see if it is possible to pass through the barrier. It's not a problem. Yes. But if it's not possible, then we will also advise on what to do to supply barrier. Yes.
In his remarks, the governor of Kwara State, Abdurrahman Abdurazak, lauded TCN for being the backbone of the power sector as he sought for more of the company's presence in the state. He further expatiates on the power needs of Buraten and its environs in the states as he called for TCN intervention during the project execution.
This basically is going to scale up what we intend to do in that area. Incidentally, after Benue, that area is the biggest producer of yam in Nigeria. And we intend to process poundo yam and sesame seeds, shea butter. So, a lot of agro-processing, things that are being held back by lack of power.
The governor welcomed TCN requests to support in providing right-of-way for the transmission line project around the Jeba-Pategi axis of the state. He said having adequate power supply around the area will greatly boost industrialization.
Towards a successful implementation of the Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition (SCADA) and the Energy Management System (EMS) technologies, which will modernize Nigeria's power grid, the Transmission Company of Nigeria is reawakening in its members of staff and engineers that zeal to launch into the system's operations and maintenance.
At the staff meeting which held at the TCN headquarters in Abuja, the coordinator of SCADA World Bank project at TCN, Engineer Tombara Egeku, made an introductory remarks of what constitute the supervisory control and data acquisition SCADA and the energy management system EMS.
In a power system, you have all the different systems and you have one coordinating unit. Usually the SCADA system is at the National Control Center. That's what coordinates the entire power system, the generators, transmission and distribution. So everybody, just like your hands, there are different functions. Your legs has its own function, your heart has its own function, but if there's no central coordination, nothing works. So that's why SCADA is important. SCADA is important because, somebody has to coordinate the activities of everything happening in the grid. If you don't coordinate everything that is happening, things will just happen haphazardly and we will not have light. So we have our operators, our grid controllers, we have our planners, we have the different units in the National Control Center.
The Special Assistant to the Managing Director of TCN on Technical and Regulatory Issues, Dr. Oluwaseun Amoda, made a presentation to the staff member of TCN on the theory of change, which is to reorient them towards the implementation of SCADA and EMS operation for the national power grid. Amoda said the current management of TCN is taking the power sector to a desired stage where technical problems of grid collapses, among others, will not be heard of anymore.
The desired state is what is in green. Zero collapses of the grid. The last time the grid has never collapsed in UK since I know. The last time the grid completely collapsed in the USA was 1965. So that's the state the management wants to take us to. Zero over voltage incidents, zero under voltage incidents. I mean, of course, you can't have zero live trade because it's a desired state. Normal frequency bias, narrow frequency excursion, no equipment damage. Of course, some of it are ideal situation. It's not that you never get it, but you must move towards it. Coordination between protective devices, complete asset information.
To attain these states, Amoda said there is a critical role that TCN staff members must play, which he believed by adopting the theory of change.
Theory of change is in the social realm. What you need to do on your own path to move from a state you don't desire to another state you desire.
He urged the TCN staff, especially those who will be working on the operation of the SCADA and EMS, to develop capacity to function independently and cultivate good maintenance culture of equipment and facilities for power transmission. The management team and staff of TCN listened with rapt attention as some in-house engineers and experts of TCN made presentations on the various components of SCADA and EMS technologies. Commenting on the presentations, after he had listened to the energetic staff members, the managing director of TCN, Mr. Yuji Mohammed, said his leadership was focused on ensuring that training and retraining of the staff is maximized at TCN.
Those people who are going to implement SCADA, we have made a decision that we are going to train them to be able to do all those things they mentioned. All those things, we are going to train them for them to be able to do it. Now, there's users also, which include the market operator, the system operator, who are supposed to determine what is their needs. They have to say this is what they want. These people are part of project. They are part of project, meaning we don't want to start a project we don't know. We want a project that we own and we know where we're heading to, and that is what the team are going to do. Now, the project belongs to who, and who are the users of the project? It is the operation department and the market operator. They are the owners and the users of that system. Now, even before we start the system, we intend to train them, because when we meet with them, they are supposed to have determined what is their need.
Expressing passion about making the SCADA system to be more advanced and working real time, he said more training will be conducted for the implementing staff in collaboration with PGM, a technical firm based in the United States of America.
We are entering into collaboration with other organizations. We are entering into collaboration with PGM in America, which they will, on side of training and on benchmarking what we are doing. We have entered SIGRI through which means that we are going to even make Nigerian SCADA as a subject matter for SIGRI. That's how we intend to do. And I think that Nigerians can work. So we intend to make this thing work. And for information, once we fix our grid and the system start working, everybody will respect us. Even today now, it's not unlike before.
The market operator, Engineer Edmond AJ, was impressed and was of no doubt that TCN can develop its own SCADA in-house.
What I am seeing today looks marvelous, that our own people are given this type of lecture, and which means we can build our own SCADA by ourselves.
Shortly after the event, some participants expressed their views about the session on SCADA sensitization.
It's been a learning process. We've been tasked with an important job, and we have no choice but to do it.
I'm one of those that drafted the theory of change that we presented here today, and I think with time we are going to be working on those things to see that the SCADA is effectively implemented in this country.
Let's take a break for a message. We'll be right back.
Verify that land before you buy it. To drastically reduce the incidence of building under the transmission right-of-way or encroaching on designated TCN land, members of the public are hereby requested to verify land near or along transmission line route before purchasing it. Verification should be made in the Land Development Authority or at the TCN office. This would help in drastically reducing the incidence of building under transmission line right-of-way and save us all the problem of pulling down the structure or truncating transmission line expansion projects in your community due to court injunction. Help us serve you better. Verify that land before you buy it.
Engineer Dahiru Isiaku is the project manager, World Bank Finance Transmission Projects, a project management unit of the Transmission Company of Nigeria. In this interview session, Engineer Isiaku speaks on how projects financed by the World Bank is reforming and improving the capacity for the transmission of electricity in Nigeria. The present management of TCN is focused on expanding the capacity of power transmission at the national grid. What is the role of the World Bank financed project in this?
Let me start with the PMU. PMU is a project management unit of the Transmission Company of Nigeria for all World Bank finance transmission projects. These projects are initiated by the Transmission Company of Nigeria, and they are captured under a credit that was mutually agreed between the federal government of Nigeria and the World Bank. Our responsibility or function is to provide project management and project and contract management for those identified transmission projects. We have a portfolio of around $486 million, which is part of the total $1.7 billion donor funds available for transmission projects. As I said, our portfolio is $486 million. Now, this portfolio includes 3 key transmission projects. One is the rehabilitation and reconstruction of transmission substations. 2 is the reconductoring of transmission lines. And 3, third key project is the provision of SCADA, which is a supervisory control and data acquisition system for the transmission network to ensure proper controls and guarantee network stability.
What will be the impact of the supervisory control and data acquisition SCADA on the national power grid?
What is most interesting about the SCADA is the MDCO, Transmission Company of Nigeria, has repeatedly in different fora told Nigerians that the Transmission Company of Nigeria had tried 3 times to get a functional SCADA. But these 3 attempts actually did not work out. Now, management in its wisdom, the present management, has a different focus altogether, has a completely new direction, and then is employing completely different methods to ensure the provision of a functional SCADA system, which is part of the cardinal points that the administration, that management has actually set for itself. Because among the key things of rehabilitation of substation and transmission line, frequency stability, then the provision of functional SCADA. Now, under this arrangement, the project management unit also adopting a completely new procurement method in view of the complexity of the SCADA system itself. The World Bank is providing finance for this project. The management of transmission company is resolved, and also under these different perspectives I've just mentioned, focus and new directions. Now, we've started the procurement process to get the requisite consultancies in place, and also to procure this SCADA system.
When the World Bank projects are completed, what changes should Nigerians expect on the national power grid?
Our activity at the end of the project, we are targeting an increase to the wheeling capacity of the Transmission Company of Nigeria by the addition of around 8,731 megawatts of transformer capacities. And also, our second key project, which is the reconducting of the transmission line projects, we will be reconducting around 1,422 kilometers of transmission line projects, which ultimately will double the present capacity of the present wheeling capacity of the transmission lines. Ultimately, the Transmission Company of Nigeria will be well positioned to deliver its primary mandates, or maybe a listing of wheeling power for all customers involved, from the GenCos, DISPOs, and then individuals, consumers in the country. Now, all this are part of the strategic planning of the management to ensure that TCN does the business it is set out to do best: satisfy customers, generate income, save money, and save wastages. Yes.
You just heard from Engineer Dahiru Isiaku, the Project Manager, World Bank Project Management Unit of TCN, on the anticipated impact of the ongoing bulk power transmission projects when they are completed. We hope to bring you another informative interview session in the next edition of your favorite program, Power Wheel. We'll bring you more reports in the Power Flash segment. Please don't go away. That is where we end on this edition of Power Wheel. We hope you will join us next week for another edition. This episode and the previous ones are available on our YouTube channel. Don't forget you can interact with us on these other platforms. I am Chinwenwa Anyao. See you next week.